again, everyone bags on Gibson, and we're going to bag on them in a minute. But in the same week, I saw the Fender firing ad. Hey, they're releasing 300 people plus or whatever. And then I got ads for Gibson hiring at their shops, at their factory, at their brand stores. And I found that interesting that like Gibson gets all that's shit on, but they're the ones now that are kind of like seem stronger to me based on their victorious lawsuit they just had. They're hiring. The prices actually seem to have gotten lower. If I am not, maybe I'm just like numb to pricing, or maybe
Well, I
the
mean,
reverb market has contracted the prices, but it just seems like Gibson's in a better place than Fender is right now, just because it just the appearance of just Fender having two losses in a row and Gibson with their new end, which is a smooth transition to a topic we had talked about a couple times already, is Gibson in legal trouble, and especially in particular with Dean. So,
well,
and here we
they've
are.
I mean, earlier I said it was kind of, a draw between the two. It's not a draw now. It's a complete win. The most recent development out of the Gibson Dean case is that um, Dean was ordered to pay Gibson's legal fees for this, which at that point now means that Gibson, they're not out of, they didn't spend any money, for all intents and purposes. They got $4,000 for their troubles, which who cares about that? But most importantly is that Dean now cannot manufacture their V, their Z Explorer,
or their
their
SG,
their SG, or their 355,
which is
which
like
means
most of their portfolio,
that's their portfolio.
except for the dime bag. That's all they got now is the dime
Yeah,
bag.
and it really seemed actually. You might have to put a link in or drop it in post. They really seemed to rub it in last week with an Instagram post
Yeah.
showing a Gibson Flying V with a suspiciously Dean-like headstock, as in it was the split V that Dean uses, except that the proportions were a little different, and the timing,
I
couldn't
mean,
have been
you don't need to rub
accidental.
it in.
Yeah, that was salt in the wound. Uh, I
So what
mean,
happens? So if they're not manufacturing anymore, can they still sell the stock they have? What do? Do they have to do like the Gibson Firebird X, where they run them over with tractors, as like a really bad YouTube video? Like, what do they do with their stock that they haven't sold? Like, if they are,
um,
and let's say Guitar Center's already bought X amount of stock from Dean, do they
well,
have to
if
sell them back? Like, what happens?
no, well, no. I mean, um, arguably they could say, well, Guitar Center is the first, purchaser. Um, Although Gibson most likely has a sweetheart deal with
Mm-hmm.
Guitar Center, anyways. So Gibson might say, hey, you know, don't do that. Um, I mean, Dean might have to dump them on the overseas market where this
Oh yeah,
ruling might not be
outside
binding.
jurisdiction. Yeah.
Yeah. It only applies in the US market. But again, this is the US market that they were always going for. And it's really, you know, not they're really in a box here. Um
Mm-hmm.
it very well though, I mean, practically speaking, it just kind of might be the end of it for Gibson's lawsuits for a while, because they're out of people to sue, or people that it's worthwhile for them to sue.
Mm-hmm.
PRS is too big for Gibson to sue. That's not a fight Gibson wants
At this point,
at this point. And they're not going to go after Jackson. They're not going to go after Charvel, because
well, they're owned by
those
Fender.
exactly. So they're not going to pick a fight with them.
You'd think they would. Why would they go after? What does Jackson Charvel
I mean,
make that is Gibson like? They're like super strats,
I'm
right?
not saying, but yeah, I mean,
Oh, you thinking for
I'm just
the
saying
Randy
that
Rhodes, like the Randy Rhodes V
yeah,
or
I
the
mean,
King V? They have the King V. I guess that is exactly the same. You're right.
well, the King. I mean, there's no one for anyone to sue now because
Yeah,
they're either owned by your crosstown rival. Either
yeah,
I mean, Fender's not going to go sue Jackson or
no,
Charvel because they own them. Okay,
yeah.
and I forget who it is that Gibson owns. It might be Washburn, I
It's
think.
Washburn, yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
and the Epiphone obviously
well,
Kramer,
Epiphone. They yeah.
yeah, and then there's the
So there's
Kramers.
yeah. So it's all spoken for. So at this point, you know, who's Gibson going to sue?
Do you
Who's Fender
think
going to sue?
they shouldn't sue anyone?
No,
It's I don't know. It seems, and also like it's just a lot of work and bad press. Just make guitars and leave everyone alone.
that's the main thing. Is it's bad press. These are just
Do
L's in
you
the press
think?
that Gibson doesn't
Yeah.
need to take.
Do you think Behringer gets in the market of making guitars and just starts pumping out Les Paul copies just to be jerks?
Well, Behringer does everything to be jerks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
It
and they have lots of money, and they have zero Fs to give, and
yeah,
they could just
they,
straight up say we're cloning. They're even do the headstock. Like, here you go.
yeah. I mean, you know they would they wouldn't be above doing something to troll, um, and who knows? I mean, it's not exactly their wheelhouse.
No,
Um, I could see them. Um, I could see them cloning a Gibson pedal. Pedals are their wheelhouse.
oh, like
Uh,
Maestro.
yeah.
They just re-released
Um,
those. That'd be a nice move. Yeah,
just
like I think Behringer's their analog copies are spot on with what
yeah.
they
So
do
I
from
mean,
what I've
just
seen.
if I was a real troll over at Behringer, I would release a line of pedals and call it my Stro. You know, I mean, just something stupid like that. You know,
Mysterio,
yeah, something that basically says bring it because
just as a tease.
yeah, just to taunt Gibson. I mean, Gibson, they are as corporate as it comes. They are literally owned by venture capitalists at this point. So it's like, what are you doing? Um, are we going to
Yeah,
waste money going after Behringer? You know,
yeah, and again, they don't care, and they have teams of this is fun for them. Less fiddling.
more playing.